To get this top started, we're first going to grab our category 4 yarn, make a slip knot, grab our 5mm hook, and we're first going to start off by making a chain that goes from your underarm down to where you want the bottom of the crop top to be, but keeping in mind that we will have a bottom border as well. Once we have a chain, keep in mind mine is 4 inches and also that this is going to shrink just a little bit. But once we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain, chain up 1, and then we're going to insert our hook into that last chain that we blocked off with a slip stitch. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through everything on the hook. So there's through one loop, through the next loop. And then we're going to do that all the way down. Let's do this one more time. Insert, pull through everything. We're going to keep doing this all the way down. Once we slip stitch all the way down, what we're going to do for the next few rows is back loop slip stitches so that we can get a ribbing effect. So we're going to chain up 1, flip our work, and then into this first available loop that we have, instead of going in through both, we're just going to be inserting our hook in through this back loop with a slip stitch. We're going to pull yarn over, pull through everything just like before. Let's do this again. Into this back loop, yarn over, pull through everything. And we're going to keep doing this pattern until we get to where our side boob is. So this is going to go from mid underarm to side boob, and then I'll meet you guys back once we have that done. I now have my little block of back loop slip stitches, and I know that this looks really small, but it does stretch out quite a bit. And just to let you guys know, when it's unstretched from one end to the next, I have about 1.5 inches. And now we're going to start working on the side portion where it starts to work our way up towards our shoulders. So all I'm going to do is chain up 1, flip our work, and then continue with the next row going into back loop slip stitches. But once we get to the end, we're going to do an increase, but I'll show you guys how to do that once when we get there. We just did our back loop slip stitches all the way down. We're going to do our increase. So all we're going to do is chain up 2, flip our work. The second one counts as our way to work our way up to the next row. So into this first chain that we did, we're going to do a back loop slip stitch, and that is how we increase. And then from here, go ahead and keep working our way down with back loop slip stitches. Once we get to the end, we're not going to do an increase on that end. So we're going to chain up 1, flip our work, and then continue doing this with an increase on this side until you get to the point where you need to just cut it to make it really high for the shoulder. But I'll meet you guys back so we have that so that I can tell you guys my measurement. This is what I have so far when I just finished doing my rows of increases, and in total I have about 4.5 inches. And keep in mind this will stretch, but from one end, this is from where mid underarm is, and then all the way down to here is about mid boob. But once we get here, we're just going to keep working our way back down until we get to the peak with back loop slip stitches, and then we're going to make a long chain after that so that it can reach the tip of our shoulder, so it can reach the back side that we're going to make after this. So we're going to chain up 1, flip our work, back loop slip stitches until we get all the way to the end, and then I will tell you guys how long my chain is when we get there. Once we made our way down to the end with our back loop slip stitches, now we're going to make a regular chain that can reach from this peak that we have that goes up to mid shoulder, and I'm just going to make a very regular chain of 6 inches. Once we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain, chain up 1, insert our hook into that loop that we blocked off, or the second chain from the hook. We're going to go in with a slip stitch, and then we're going to be putting 1 slip stitch into every chain that we have, working our way back down. Once we make it back to the body portion, we're going to continue working into the back loop slip stitches, but I'll show you guys how to do that once we make our way down the chain. We've slip stitched all the way down, and then now once we get here, we're going to continue working into the back loops into the body portion. So all we're going to do, this is going to be working into this side, so all we're going to want to do is to twist it just a little bit and then continue working into the back loops with slip stitches, and we're going to keep doing this all the way down. And once we make it to the end, we're going to chain up 1 and then back loop slip stitch our way back, and then once we get to the end, we're going to keep this end blunt until we need to start decreasing for the neck, but that's going to be about 2 inches. So I'll meet you guys back once we have that done, and then I will show you guys how to decrease for the neck loop. This is what we should have when we have our blunt portion all finished, and then this is right where I want the neck scoop to be. So what we're going to do is same thing that we've been doing, chain up 1, flip our work all the way down with back loop slip stitches until we just have an inch of loops left, and then we aren't going to be going into any of those last loops because that's going to be where our scoop starts to scoop, and then I'll show you guys what to do from there. We've just done our back loop slip stitches all the way up until we have just a couple loops left. This little chunk that we're not going into, I left an inch for myself. This may be a little bit different for you guys, but go ahead and adjust to whatever you guys need to do. Well, once we have that, we're going to chain up one. We're going to flip our work, and then we're going to do a decrease into these first two loops. So into this first back loop, we're going to yarn over, pull through. Into this next back loop, yarn over, pull through everything. And from here, continue to do back loop slip stitches all the way down until we make it to the end. We're going to chain up one, do back loop slip stitches all the way down. We're not going to decrease into any of the rows that we go up from. So we're going to be decreasing into every other row until we get to about mid-chest, and then we're going to start increasing so that it can scoop back up to the other side. But I'll meet you guys back once we have this done. This is what we should have so far. This looks absolutely nuts, but it'll all work out. This is actually the exact halfway point that we have. So if we're measuring the base, because this is the easiest part to measure, from one end down to the next, I have 7.5 inches, but please, please, please keep in mind that this guide does stretch a lot. So you guys should be good. And then once we have this, we're going to do the same thing that we did here, just mirror it on the other side. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do this. Once we get here, we're going to chain up one. We're going to flip our work, and then we're going to go in with back loop slip stitches all the way up until we get to this last loop, and then we're going to start increasing so that we can work on our scoop. But I'll show you guys how to do that once we get there. We just back loop slip stitched all the way up, and now we're just about ready to start working on our scoop. So once we have this, what we're going to do is chain up one, flip our work, and then into this first loop that we have, we're going to do an increase. And this is going to be different than the increase that we did down here. So once we get here, we're going to put one slip stitch into this loop. That is the wrong loop. Chain up one, this is the first loop. We're going to put two slip stitches into that first loop. So there's one, and then here is two. And once we have that, we're going to back loop slip stitch all the way down. Once we make it to the end, we're going to only increase into every other row, just like how we decreased into every other row over here. And then however many rows that you have from here to here, go ahead and do the same amount of rows going up the other way. And then once we have that, we're going to work on the blunt portion, but I'll show you guys how to do that once when we get there. This is what we should have once when we have the other side of our scoop neck all finished. And the next thing that we're going to do is do this little itty bitty blunt portion that we have. And just to let you guys know, from one side to the next, I have a little over 9.5 inches. But basically, it's going to just mirror everything that we have on this side. So right before we get started, if you guys want to fold this over to make sure that we have the same amount of rows and loops, just to make sure that it all fits, go ahead and fold it over to make sure. And it does, so now we can start working on this guy. So from here, we're going to chain up one, flip our work. Once we flipped our work, we're going to continue going down with back loop slip stitches all the way down until we get to this side, and then we're going to do a little chain up so that we can match this shoulder portion right here. But I will meet you guys back once when we get here to show you guys how many chains I did and the measurement. We have back loop slip stitched all the way our way back up. And then before we did this part on the other side, we left out about an inch. So once we make our way up here, we're going to chain up an inch or whatever measurement you guys have right here. And then once we have that chain up that matches the same one on this side, what we're going to do is block off that last loop, chain up one, flip our work, and then into this second loop that we have, or the one that we just blocked off, we're going to go in with a slip stitch, and we're going to put one slip stitch into every loop going back all the way down our chain really quick. And then once when we have slip stitched all the way back down, we're now at the body of the work, and we're going to continue going down with back loop slip stitches. And then this is going to be the exact same that we have right here. So this is going to be blunt, no increases, no decreases. So go ahead and do it on this side for the same measurement that we have right here, or the same amount of rows, however you guys are doing this. And then I will meet you guys back so that we can do this chunk right here. And this is what we should have so far once we have just finished doing our little blunt portion. And then if you guys want to measure it out again, go ahead and just fold it over and everything should equal out nicely. And then now we're going to start working on this decrease portion. And the way that I did it, as you guys can see, I already have my stitch marker in here. I just went ahead and counted out, see how many loops I had from this original just loose chain that I made from this last loop. And then I counted from here going back down the same amount of chains, or the same amount of loops, I'm sorry, and then I put in my slip stitch. And then now that we're here, we're going to go in with back loop slip stitches. So we're going to chain up one, flip our work, and then we're going to go up with back loop slip stitches once into every loop all the way until we get to our stitch marker, and then we're going to start decreasing. I'll show you guys how to do that when we get there. So we're all the way at our stitch marker, sorry I forgot what it's called. And then what we're going to do from here is start doing some decreases. So now that we have that, we're going to chain up one, flip our work, and then we're going to decrease same way that we've been decreasing this entire time. So insert your hook into this first back loop, yarn over, pull through, into this next back loop, yarn over, pull through everything on the hook. And then go down with back loop slip stitches, and then this one is going to be a decrease into every single row. So go ahead, when you make it to the end, work your way back, leave the last two loops, and then we're going to increase there as well. And then keep doing that until you have the same amount of rows as you guys have over here, and then I'll meet you guys back just to do this last little chunk that we have. We have just finished up doing this underarm portion where it decreases, and then like always, if you guys want to make sure that it all fits, let's do it this way, make sure that it all fits, and it does. Once we have that, we're just going to do this little block of regular back loop slip stitches until we have the same amount of loops right here. Once we have all that, I'll meet you guys back and I'll show you guys what to do next. This is what we should have once we are done doing the front, and then the back is actually going to be exactly the same minus this little scoop neck that we have. So from here to here is going to be all the same, but from here this is actually just going to go straight across. So just to show you guys, I know that you guys can already do it, but just to show you guys, we're going to first start off doing this section, and then I'm just going to remind you guys once we get up here that we're just going to go straight across, and then I will let you guys have at the back, and then we will connect and do everything else together. So I'll meet you guys back once we have just about this done. This is what I'm currently working on, and this is exactly the same thing that we have as right here, plus I did the little chain and then one row and a little bit of our back loop slip stitches. And then from here, like I said, it's going to be exactly the same. So however many rows we have from right here to here, we're going to do the same amount of rows on this end, but for the back end it's all going to be blunt, so no increases, no decreases, nothing fancy like that. And then once you guys have done all this, making sure that you guys have the same amount of rows, you guys are going to decrease just like how we did on this side, and then we will connect everything together, and then I'll meet you guys back. We're now all finished up working on our back panel, and if we flip this over, as you can see, it fits everything perfectly. And then one of the last things that we have to do before we start connecting everything is just go in with a row of single crochet just along these top little shoulder guides that we have in the front, and then along this entire back portion that we have right here, so that's easier to connect. So I'm just going to show you guys how to do one of them. It's going to be the same for both sides and for the long piece in the back, but how we're going to start this off is insert our hook into the corner, and then we're going to pull our yarn through. Once we have that, we're going to chain up one to secure, and then as you guys can see, there's no real loops for us to go into, so we're just going to have to figure it out. And like I always say whenever we have to figure it out, be sure not to put too many single crochets into one area, otherwise it'll bunch up. But yeah, try to keep it as even as possible, and then when you guys have one side all finished, as you guys can see, this one is done. Then we can cut and tie. We're going to do the same thing to this side and along the top part of the back piece as well. We just finished up doing single crochets along the tops of the two shoulder parts that we have in the front piece, and then along the top of the back piece as well. And now all we're going to do is just connect the shoulder pieces together to the back, and also the underarm piece that we have right here to the back as well. So I'm going to show you guys how to connect the underarm piece from the front to the back, but it's going to be the same for the shoulder piece and for the other underarm piece as well. But what you're going to want to do is insert your hook into the corner loop that we have right here, in through both loops, and then in through the corner loop that we have on the back panel. And then we're going to make a slip knot, insert that onto our hook, and then we're going to pull this through. And then once we have that pulled through, what we're going to do from here is chain up 1 to secure. And then we're going to be going in through both loops on both panels that we have with a single crochet. So in through this first loop, and then in through the next available loop that we have on the back panel. And when our hook is through both, we're going to pull through with a single crochet, and that secures everything together. Let's do this one more time. So into the next available loop, and then into the available loop that we have right after the last one. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through everything with a single crochet. And then we're going to keep doing this all the way down, and we're going to cut and tie once we get to this corner. And we're going to do the same thing for the shoulder pieces. And when it comes to the shoulder pieces, we're only going to be doing this little chunk that we have in the front. So we're not going to go past this at all because this is going to be where the hood is. So we're just going to connect from here to here. Same thing for this one. And then same thing for this other underarm piece as well. And I'll meet you guys back once we have all of this done. We've just finished up connecting all of our pieces. And then once we have that done, we can flip this inside out and start working on the bottom border. So what we're going to do is insert our hook into any one of these bottom loops that we have. It doesn't really matter which one. We're going to take our yarn, insert that onto our hook, pull through, and then from here we're just going to go along the bottom with a row of single crochet as our first row. And then you guys already know the deal. Don't put too many single crochets in one area, otherwise it'll bunch up. But I'll meet you guys back when we've made it all the way around and slip stitched it into the first loop that we made. We've now made it all the way around with our row of single crochet, and we've slip stitched it into the first loop that we have. And now we're going to start working on the ribbing for the bottom border. This is going to be pretty simple. We're first going to chain out 2 inches. And then when you have your 2 inches, you're going to block off that last loop. You're going to chain up 3, prepare for a double crochet, insert our hook into that loop that we blocked off, or the 4th loop from our hook, with a double crochet. And from here, we're going to go down our chain that we just made, putting 1 double crochet into each loop. Once we double crocheted all the way back down our chain, what we're going to do is now connect it to this row of single crochet, or what we're going to call for this video is the base. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the loop that we're in, and this is the loop that we're currently in. We're not going to count that loop. We're going to go up 2 loops. Here's 1, here's 2 into that second loop. We're going to connect with a slip stitch, and that's how we connect it to the base. And then in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 loops. So there's 1, there's 2. We're going to flip our work. We're going to automatically prepare for a double crochet, and then we're going to go into this first back loop with our double crochet. So instead of going in through both of these guys, we're going to go in through this back loop with a double crochet. And then for the remainder of this bottom border, it will be going into the back loops. That'll give us a different ribbing effect than the one that we've already made for ourselves. But when we've made it to the end, we're going to chain up 3, work our way back. And once we make it back to the base, we're going to count up 2 loops. We're going to slip stitch into that second in order to connect that row. And then to start up the next row, I can't speak today, we're going to slip stitch up the 2 loops after that, and then start doing back loop double crochets. And then we're going to be doing that for the entirety of the bottom border. So I'll meet you guys back when we make it all the way back here so that we can connect it together. We're all finished doing our bottom border, and what we have to do now is just connect it. But the first thing that we have to do before we connect it is flip our top back inside out so that all of our seams are facing outwards, so that our seams are all on the inside basically. So once we've done that, what we're going to do, since our hook is already into this corner, we're going to go into the other bottom border corner that we have. And from here, we're going to yarn over, pull through everything. And it's going to be the exact same way that we have connected this other side. So let's just do this really quickly. Into this next available loop that we have, we're going to insert our hook into the next available loop that we have on the other side of our bottom border. Insert our hook and single crochet. And we're going to keep single crocheting all the way down till we get to this side. And then once we get to the end, we're going to chain up 1 and cut. Once we have our entire bottom band done, I went ahead and flipped it inside out. And then now we're going to start working on the shoulder cuff and the sleeve. And as you guys can see, I already have one side done. But this next step is going to be super simple. What we're going to do is just do a row of single crochet around the entire armhole that we have. So all we're going to do is insert our hook, try and get our hook into right where the middle is, because I know that the seam is right here. Try to get it either on either side of the seam. But once we have that, pull our yarn through, chain up one to secure, and then you guys know the drill. Go ahead and go around with a row of single crochet going all the way up and over, and then connect with a slip stitch once when you get to the end, but don't put too many in a corner, otherwise it'll bunch up. And then I'll meet you guys back and tell you guys what to do from there. Now that we've single crocheted all the way around our armhole, now we're going to do what we're going to call decreases right where we did our increases and decrease where our underarm is. And that's going to be kind of simple. So we're going to start off by doing a chain up of 3. Once we have that, we're going to block that last chain, and then we're going to chain up just 1. Once we have that, into this first loop that we blocked off, or the second loop from the hook, we're going to go in with a single crochet, and then we're going to start getting bigger. So into the second loop that we have, we're going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through everything, and then the last one is a double crochet. So we're going to prepare for a double crochet, insert our hook into that last loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then once we have this little triangle guy, now we're going to connect it into the base. So we're going to count out 2 loops. So we're not going to count out this loop because this is the loop that we're currently in. We're going to count 1, 2, insert our hook with a slip stitch. And then let's do this next part together. So in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 loops. And then for these increases and decrease portions, are going to be exactly the same. So we're going to flip our work. We're going to prepare for a double crochet first since we're starting at the base. Then we're going to be going in through the back loop with a double crochet. Prepare for a half double crochet. Insert your hook into the back loop with a half double crochet, and then into this very last loop with a single crochet. And we're basically doing this so that this under portion can taper in a little bit so that it doesn't buckle. So let's do this together one more time. Once we get out here, we're going to chain up 1, flip our work, and since we're starting at the outside, our first stitch that we're going to do is going to be a single crochet. So we're going to insert into that first back loop, single crochet, prepare for a half double crochet, do a half double crochet into that next back loop, and then into this last loop that we have, we're going to prepare for a double crochet. We're going to go into that back loop with a double crochet. And then to connect it all, we're going to count up 2 loops in the base. Here's 1, here's 2. Insert your hook into that second loop with a slip stitch. And then we're going to keep doing this decrease section up until we get to this point where we start to do our blunt portion. And then from here, we're going to do something else. So I'll show you guys what to do once we get right here. We've done our decreasing shoulder cuff up until we got to this blunt portion, and we're going to actually exceed this by just 1 of these decrease rows, and this is just so that this part doesn't buckle up when we wear it. So for this last decrease, we're going to chain up 1, flip our work, and then into this first back loop we're going to single crochet. Into the next we're going to half double, and then into the loop after that we are going to do a double, and then connect to the base just like usual. We just got done doing our decrease row into the first little bit that we have in this blunt portion. And then right before we get started on the blunt portion, as you guys can see, I went ahead and inserted some stitch markers in for myself. And all that is I measured up from the peak of the shoulder, and I measured down 2 inches and then put in my stitch markers. But that is just going to indicate where we're going to start increasing so that the shoulder cuff can be just a little bit bigger. But I will show you guys how to increase when we actually get there. But since we're currently right here, all we're going to do is just do regular rows of back loop double crochets. So we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 loops, Once we have that, we're going to flip our work. If I can, we're going to prepare for a double crochet. Then into every back loop that we have, so only 3 of them for us, we're going to put a back loop double crochet. And then from here, we're going to chain up 3, 2, 3, flip our work, do back loop double crochets, work our way up to this first stitch marker, and then once we reach this, I'll show you guys how to do the top of this shoulder cuff that we have. We've made our way over to our first stitch marker, and then as you guys can see, we're about to get started on the increases. And then this is going to be exactly the same way, whether if you guys are starting on the inside like me or on the outside, you guys are just going to be doing an outside on the outside. We're just going to be doing an increase on the outside. So we're going to work our way up to the next row by slip stitching up the next 2 loops. We're going to flip our work, and then once we get here, we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and we're going to put 1 double crochet into every loop that we have. So there's 1, there's 2, but once we get to this third, we're going to be doing an increase. So 2 double crochet into this last loop, just like that. And then once we get here, we're going to chain up 3, flip our work again, and then we're going to prepare for a double crochet, and then double crochet into that same loop that we're in, so an increase in this row as well. Once we have that, prepare for a double crochet, do a back loop double crochet into every loop, going back down, and then connect with a slip stitch, keep doing that until we get to the middle of the shoulder portion. And if you guys don't know where it is, it's where our seam is on the underside. And then once we get here, we're actually going to start decreasing until we get to this other stitch marker. So I'll meet you guys back when we get to this middle point on the shoulders, and then I'll show you guys how to decrease from there. We've now just made our increases over to this seam, and now we're going to start doing decreases, but these decreases are different than these decreases. So what we're going to do from here, we're going to chain up 3, we're going to flip our work, and then from here we're going to be decreasing on the outside. We're going to prepare for a double crochet, insert our hook into this first loop, yarn over, pull through, into the second loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, pull through 2. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into every back loop, working our way back down, and then we're going to connect it to the end, and then we're going to work our way back and then keep decreasing like this until we reach our next stitch marker right here. Now that we've made it down to our stitch marker on the other side, now we're just going to go down with rows of double crochet, back loop double crochet, all the way until we have just 2 loops right before this blunt end ends, and then we're going to start doing these decreases that we did along the bottom side right here, but I'll meet you guys back once we have that done. We've just done our pattern all the way down the blunt portion of our work, and we have 2 loops left right before we start getting into this underarm increased decreased section that we did in the body portion. And then let me just remind you guys what we're doing. So once we get here, what we're going to do is chain up 1, and then we're going to insert our hook into this first loop with a single crochet, into that second loop with a back loop half double crochet, and then into this last loop is back loop double crochet. And once we have that, we're going to count up 1, 2, insert our hook into that second with a slip stitch. And then I will redo this since this just came apart, but keep doing that all the way down. Once when you guys make it to the end, we're going to connect it the same way that we've been connecting everything, which is just sandwiching them together and then single crocheting everything together. And then once we have that done, don't cut and tie because we have the rest of the sleeve to still do. We are all finished up doing our shoulder cuff, and as you can see, this is it. Flip it over, it looks exactly the same, and then our seam is on the inside. And then right before we get started to work on the bulk of the sleeve, the next thing that we have to do is just go in with a row of single crochet. That cleans up these edges and also makes it easier for us to go in with our next bit for the cuff. So all this is chain up 1 and single crochet. Some of these are going to be side double crochets, which are super easy. Just put 2 single crochets into those. But some of these are also going to be just random loops. Go ahead and just figure out a loop that you want to go into and then work your way all the way around. Connect with a slip stitch, and then I'll meet you guys back once when we get there. We've single crocheted all the way around and connected with a slip stitch, and then now we're going to start working on the bulk of the sleeve. So what we're going to do from here is try it on, and then we're going to see how long we want our sleeve to be. And then I went ahead and just made a regular chain of 17 inches, and we're starting from the bottom. I'm just going to show you guys from here all the way down to here. For me was a chain of 17 inches, but do keep in mind that this is going to shrink quite a bit. So if you guys need to, go ahead and add an extra 2 or 3 inches or more if you guys need. But I'm going to make my chain size, and then I'll meet you guys back once we have that done. Once when we have made our chain, what we're going to do from here is just go down with the row of slip stitches. So we're going to block off this last chain that we just made, chain up one, and then into that chain that we blocked off, we're going to go in with a slip stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through everything on the hook. And then we're going to keep doing this all the way down until we get to the base. And I won't show you guys how to do it because we've been doing it for this entire piece so far. But once we get to the base, we're going to count out just one loop, since we're going into this chain with only slip stitches, not double crochets. We're going to count out one loop, and then we're going to slip stitch into that next available loop. And then we're going to slip stitch up the next loop so that we can work our way up to the next row, and then work our way back down with back loop slip stitches so that it can match the body of this. And then we're going to keep doing that all the way up until we have our stitch markers. And I went ahead and put in my stitch markers about 2 inches from this top shoulder cuff corner that we have, because once we get here, we're going to start doing some increases so that our shoulder portion can start to curve down our shoulder naturally. But go ahead and do that all the way up until we get to about here, and then I will show you guys what to do from there. We now have our chunk of back loop slip stitches, and this is as wide as mine is, and I've made it all the way over to our stitch marker that we have right here. And like I said, now we're going to start doing some increases so that this can curve downwards. So I finally made it to the stitch marker. I'm just going to take mine out. I'm going to insert my hook into the next loop, slip stitch up, because that's how we work our way up to the next row. We're going to flip our work. And then once we have that into this first loop that we have, we're going to continue going into the back loops, but we're going to be going with an increase. So we're going to do one back loop slip stitch, and then into that same loop, another back loop slip stitch. So there's one, there's two. And then from here, put one back loop slip stitch going all the way down. Once we make it to the end, we're going to chain up one, flip our work, and then work our way back down. Once we make it to this last loop that we have, we're going to do another increase, so 2 back loop slip stitches into there. And then we're going to keep doing this until we get to the middle of this cuff, so this high part. And if you guys don't exactly know where that is, we're going to go in until we have our seam right here. So wherever our seam's at, we're just going to follow this down straight, and then we're going to keep going until we make it to that loop. And then once we get here, we're going to do some decreases down this way. We have now just made our way down with our increase rows, and we're now at the middle of our shoulder portion. If we want to flip this inside out, you guys can see that this is where the seam is, and I followed this all the way down, and then this is where I ended my increases. And now from here down to where our next stitch marker is, we're going to do decreases. So it's going to be the exact same thing, but into the first 2 rows we're going to decrease. So we're going to insert our hook into the next loop with a slip stitch. We're going to flip our work, and then into the first 2 loops we slip stitch, decrease slip stitch. So we're going to insert our hook into this first back loop, yarn over, pull through, into this next back loop, yarn over, pull through everything on the hook. And once we have that, we go down with back loop slip stitches. Once we reach the end, chain up one, work our way back, leaving the last 2 loops. When you guys reach the last 2 loops, we are going to do more back loop decreases, and then we're going to slip stitch into the base, and then keep doing that until we reach our stitch marker. And then once we get here, we're not going to do any more decreases. We're just going to go straight down with regular back loop slip stitches. But I'll remind you guys one more time once we get down here. We have just made our way all the way around to our stitch marker, doing our back loop slip stitches, but also decreasing where the base is. And now we can start doing just the regular bit of back loop slip stitches with no increases, no decreases, no fancy stuff. So into this next loop, we can take out our stitch marker. We're going to do a slip stitch because that's how we work our way up to the next row. We're going to flip our work, and then we're going to go in with back loop slip stitches once into every loop. Once we make it to the end, we're going to chain up 1 and then keep going back and forth until we reach all the way down here to where we don't have any more loops left, and then we're going to connect our sleeve together. But I'll show you guys how to do that once when we get there. As you guys can see, we just finished up doing our entirety of our main portion of the sleeve. Now we're going to start working on the little cuff portion. And so for this part, if you guys didn't end on the outside of your sleeve, it's okay. Go ahead and just cut and tie if you ended on this side, and then reattach it into this corner right here. But this next row is going to be super duper easy. What we're going to do is chain up 1, flip our work, and then we're just going to be going in, putting 1 single crochet into each of these kind of loops that there are. Then I'll meet you guys back once we get down here. Once we've single crocheted along the bottom of our sleeve, this next portion is going to all depend on how long we made this sleeve portion. So we're just going to do the length of the cuff right now. So I measured out my sleeve that I currently have, and for the cuff, I'm just going to go ahead and make a chain of 5 inches. Once when I have my chain, we're just going to go ahead and do a simple row of double crochets. So we're going to block off that last chain that we did. We're going to chain up 3, prepare for a double crochet. Then we're going to insert our hook into that loop that we blocked off, or the 4th loop from our hook, with a double crochet. And then from here, go ahead and work down our chain that we have, putting 1 double crochet into every loop. Once we make it to the base, we're going to connect with a slip stitch, but I'll show you guys how to do that once we get there one more time. We have double crocheted going back all the way down our chain, and now we have made it over to the base. And this next part is going to be exactly the same way the bottom border is, so I'm just going to refresh you guys really quickly one more time. So once we get here, we're going to count out 2 loops. We're not going to count this first loop because this one is busy. So we're going to count out 1, 2, insert our hook into that 2nd loop with a slip stitch. We're going to slip stitch up the next 2 loops, 1, 2, flip our work, prepare for a double crochet, and then go into every double crochet's back loop with another double crochet. We're going to keep working our way down just like this. Once we reach the end, we're going to chain up 3, flip our work, and then do back loop double crochets all the way back. Once we make it back to the base, we're going to count up 2 loops, slip stitch into that 2nd loop to close off that row, and then in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 and then start doing more back loop double crochets back. And then we're going to keep doing that all the way across down here, and then once we've made it all the way to the other side, we can connect our sleeve together. We are now all finished doing our cuff, and what we need to do next is just connect everything going all the way down the rest of our sleeve, and then we'll be done with this sleeve. So what we're going to do is we're going to sandwich our sleeves together, and then we're going to insert our hook into this corner. And then since my hook is already in through this other side, we're just going to yarn over, pull through everything. And then from here, we're going to go in just with a row of single crochet, making sure that we go in through both sides. So in through this first loop that we have in the panel that's closest to us, then into the next available loop that we have in the panel that's furthest away from us, and then single crochet. Let's do this together one more time. Insert, and then insert, single crochet. And we're going to keep doing this all the way down until we get to the underarm portion down here, or basically until we can't go anymore. And we're going to cut and tie, and then as you guys can see, I already have my other sleeve already finished. But once when you guys have one sleeve done, you guys go ahead and get started and finish your other sleeve. So this is what we should have for our sweater once when we have done both of our sleeves and flipped everything inside out, so everything is right side out. And then if you guys want, you guys can actually leave it like this. It looks really cute like this as well, but we, as a unit, will be adding a hood onto this as well, and that's going to be the last thing that we do. So in order to get this started, we're first going to go in with a row of single crochet just around the neck portion. So I'm going to insert my hook where I have my shoulder seam right here, and it doesn't matter exactly where it is, I just like to put it over here anyways. So we're just going to insert our hook into one of the loops, grab our yarn, insert that onto our hook, and then we're just going to go around with a row of single crochet. Once we make it to the end, we're going to connect with a slip stitch. We have just single crocheted around the entirety of the neck portion, and I went ahead and connected with a slip stitch and cut. And now we're going to start working on the hood. And this is going to be a little bit different, so bear with me. We will do this together. But as you guys can see, I went ahead and already put in my stitch marker into this middle, I guess, V that we kind of have. Not quite a scoop, but not quite a V. But I just went ahead and counted from the shoulder seams that I had. Counted all the way down. Same thing on this side. And then this is where our middle is. And now we're going to start working on the hood now that we know where the middle portion is. So to get started on the hood, we're first going to take a look at where our stitch marker is at, and then we're actually not going to be going into the stitch marker at first. We're just going to save these last 2 loops for a quick little single crochet border along the outside. And if you guys just have 1 loop as the middle, that's totally fine. Just leave that one as is. But once we have that, we're first going to go in with our first row. It's going to be into the front loops only, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but it helps our hood sit on us a lot easier and a lot prettier. So once we have that, we're just going to insert our hook into this first front loop that I have that's right on the loop that's right next to my stitch marker. Insert our, what is this? Not our hook, our yarn. We're going to chain up 3. This counts as a double crochet. Prepare for a double crochet. Then we're going to insert our hook into that first available front loop that we have with a regular double crochet. And then we're going to keep doing this all the way down until we get to 9 double crochet, and then into the 10th we will be doing an increase. We have our set of 9 front loop double crochets, and then we're going to do a set of 2 double crochets or an increase into the next front loop that we have. So into the 10th loop that we're working into, we're going to prepare for a double crochet and go in with 2 double crochet into that next front loop. And then we're going to continue doing this where we increase into every 10th loop all the way around the hood. And then once we reach down here, we're not going to be going into these 2 middle loops like I said, remember? So we're just going to end it here, and then I'll show you guys what to do from there. We just made our way around our first row of front loop double crochets in order to start off our hood. And then from here, it's going to be a little bit different. So since we're starting not really at an angle, we're starting directly in the middle, we're going to chain up 3, flip our work, and then into the first 2 loops we're going to do a decrease. And we're only doing a decrease, not really because we need it, but basically so that these 2 front panels that we have, it'll start to separate around our face a little bit. But we're not going to be doing it for every row. We're actually going to be doing it for every other row. So let me just show you guys how to do it really quick. We're going to prepare for a double crochet, insert into the first loop, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we're only going to do it right here. And then from here, we're going to go back in, putting 1 double crochet into every loop and increasing into the 10th. And then once we make it all the way down to this other side, we're going to leave the last 3 loops because we're going to be doing another decrease. But I'll show you guys how to do that when we get there. We've double crocheted all the way down, making sure that we are increasing into every 10th. And then we left the last 3 loops like I said. So into these last 3 loops, we're going to be doing a decrease and then a double crochet. So into the next 2, we're going to prepare for a double crochet, insert, pull through, into the next, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, pull through 2, and then into this last one, just do a regular double crochet. And then for the next row, we aren't going to be going into this next row with a decrease. We're actually going to be decreasing into every other row. So once we get here, we're going to chain up 3, flip our work. My work is already flipped, but flip your work. And then into every loop that we have, we're going to be putting 1 double crochet until we get to the 10th. And then we're going to be doing an increase, and an increase is just putting 2 double crochet into that same loop. And then we're going to keep doing this all the way around. And just to let you guys know, if you guys want to increase or decrease more, go ahead and adjust to whatever you guys need. This is not a template for every single person. Some people have more hair, less hair, bigger head, little head, whatever. But go ahead and adjust it, and then I'll actually meet you guys back when I have the max length around that I need, and then I'll show you guys what to do from there. This is what I have so far for the hood, and as you guys can see, I have a little bit done from the base of the hood all the way up to where I have about 6 inches. And then all the way around over to this end, I have a total of 30 inches. And this is the size that I want for the hood. So I'm actually going to stop doing my increases and decreases and just go up with doing rows of double crochet until this reaches the top of my head, and then we're going to decrease just a little bit, and then we're going to connect it all together. So go ahead and do that. I'll meet you guys back in the next clip to tell you guys the height that I have, but go ahead and have at it, and then I'll meet you guys back. We now have the bulk of our hood done, and then if we're measuring from this bottom all the way up to where I have 11 inches, and this almost covers our head. But once we get here, we're going to need to start decreasing a little bit so that it's easier for us to combine everything. But once we get here, it's going to be exactly the same way that we were doing the other rows, except for increases, we're going to be doing decreases. So we're going to chain up 3, that counts as a double crochet, flip our work, and then we're going to be going in, putting 1 double crochet into the next 9 loops that we have, and then we're going to be decreasing into the 10th. We have our 9 double crochet, and then into the 10th and the 11th loop we're going to be doing a decrease. So we're going to prepare for a double crochet, insert into the 10th, yarn over, pull through, into the next loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3, pull through 2, and that is how we decrease. And then we're going to continue doing this pattern, so we're going to double crochet once into the next 9 loops, decrease into the 10th, and then keep going back and forth like that until you get the desired length that you want for your hood, and then we will connect. But I'll show you guys the length in the next clip when I have all mine done. This is what things are looking like once we have the entirety of our hood done. So from the bottom of the base of the hood all the way up to the top, I have a total of 15 inches. And then now we just need to connect everything, and then we'll be all done. So how we're going to connect it is, let's untangle myself really quick. How we're going to connect it is we're going to take the 2 ends that we have, and then we're going to be going across with a row of single crochet, making sure that we go in through both of these loops on both sides, just like how we've been connecting everything else. But the way that we're going to do it is we're actually going to pinch the corners with one hand, and then we're going to reach into the hood. We're going to go underneath and then grab this corner, and then we're going to flip it inside out, because this is how we're going to be doing it, because doing it this way the seam will be on the inside. Once we have this, we're just going to take our corners and then flip them like this, and then we can get started. So everything that we have is nice and flipped over, and I inserted my hook back into our working yarn that we have. What we're going to do is insert our hook into the corner of the back side that we have. And we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then this is going to be the same way that we've connected everything else so far. So we're going to insert our hook into the next available loop into this front panel, into the next available loop that we have in the back panel, and then single crochet. Then we're going to do this all the way down. Once we make it to the end, we're going to cut and tie, and then we just have the tiniest border to do around our hood, and then we are all done. We have connected our hood. As you guys can see, this is the inside seam, and the last thing that we have to do is just do a really simple single crochet border along the entirety of our hood. And then right before we got started, we did leave these 2 loops available. Some of you may have 1, some of you may have 2. That is totally fine. But no matter how many loops you guys left, what we're going to do is all going to be the same. So I'm going to insert my hook into the loop that is closest to the side that I'm going to start working in. Pull through, and then you guys already know the deal from here. We're going to chain up 1, and since these are all side double crochets, go in with putting 2 single crochets into each of these side double crochets. Once we make it to the end, slip stitch it into this next loop that we have, or if you guys only have 1 loop, slip stitch it into the same loop, and then cut and tie. We just went in with our row of single crochets around the entirety of our hood, and the last thing that we have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And this is our hoodie all finished up. This is perfect because fall is right around the corner, and let me tell you guys, this is super warm. I love the details in it, and I hope you guys do too. And if you guys do, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It's right beneath the video. It lets YouTube and I know you're enjoying the videos, and it goes a long way to helping the channel grow and gain some traction. But if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, but be sure to leave me a comment letting me know why you didn't like it, or if you have any questions, requests, or if you just want to say hi. I usually reply pretty quick. If you love it, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's right beneath the video. It'll let you know when there's a new video uploaded to the channel, get you a bit more priority when it comes to requests, and it goes a really long way to helping the channel grow so I can keep making all these great videos for you guys. If you're already subscribed, huge thanks to you guys, but please hit that notification bell to know when there's a new upload for you right away, and please share with your crafty friends. Every bit helps. Links to the yarn and the hooks will be in the description, and if you buy something using those links, that also goes towards helping out the channel. Lastly, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest links are down there as well, and as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.